NXT Women's North American title match. Kelani Jordan successfully retained her title against Sol Ruca. Boy, oh boy, has this been the center of attention, of discussion, of the discourse, trademark. And I believe very sincerely that I am going to give you the fairest review of this match that you're going to get anywhere out there. Because I feel like there's two extremes to this. It's like there's people who thought this was the greatest thing. There's people who thought this was the worst thing. And I think this is one of these matches that has elements of both, but there's other things that I feel people are missing the point on and that we're not talking about. And look, did I think this was a good match? Okay, let's start with that. Did I think this was a good match? Yes, I guess, but not on the same level as, Obafemi versus Wesley. I feel like I'm being a little generous here, maybe to a degree. Look, the match starts off, and we all saw the clip with the gymnastics routine, right? We all saw it. We know what we're talking about. And I don't have a problem necessarily with it. Did I think the routine was good? Not really. I don't think it was well done. And the routine itself, the clip that everyone is watching, is what, like a 20, 25, 30 second moment in an entire match that lasted, a little over 8 minutes. Nearly 8 minutes, 30 seconds. So there's a whole part to this match that nobody's discussing, and I think is still very impactful. But when I saw the opening where they're doing the routine, and I'm going to call it that. It's not necessarily a problem for me. Again, when I saw them doing that, I was like, okay, I see what's going on. I understand what's happening. And then the rest of the match connects. So I see what's happening, and I'm like, look, what I'm watching here is an exhibition of two athletes who are so incredibly green pro wrestlers. They are putting on a demo of what they are capable of doing. They're talented athletes. They're gifted athletes. Both of them are. We're not going to take anything away here. I mean, they did moves. They did impactful stuff in the routine. As I'm watching it, I'm sitting there and going, wait, this is a recreation of Ospreay Ricochet. The Best of Super Juniors match. And I'm looking at this from 2016. I'm looking at this and I'm like, this is a recreation of that, right? And then on Twitter, someone does a side-by-side and I'm like, hey, fuck yeah, I was right. But it wasn't good. Let's circle back to the routine. It wasn't good. It was clunky and slow compared to Will and Ricochet, who were much more polished wrestlers and who, yes, did the same moves, who did the same things that Ruca and Jordan did, but crisper, snappier, with more intent, more resolution. I'm watching these two girls go, and I see them thinking about their moves. I see them thinking about what's coming up next, what I need to do next. And that's where you lose me in the concept of a professional wrestling match. This is where I'm like, these are trainees who are showing us, look what we've trained. Look at what we've put together, this nice little choreography. And again, it doesn't bother me that it's been choreographed. I have no issue with it. Some of your favorite professional wrestlers would put together their matches before going into the ring to the slightest detail. Randy Macho Man Savage is probably the most famous one. A lot of wrestlers just called it in the ring. They let the heels do it, especially back in the territory days. Randy wanted everything planned out to every minute detail. It's not, again, these are not things that are problematic. And I can appreciate these wrestlers trying out stuff, going out there, seeing what sticks. Can we pull this off? I don't have an issue with that. But what it ends up showing me is that these are wrestlers doing things that are above their heads, that is above their pay grade, if you know. They're not ready to be doing the things that they want to be doing in this match. And it just shows. Again, not necessarily a problem, but I could see right through it. It didn't endear me to the match, but I'm adult enough, I'm reasonable enough to sit back and see with the level, with the number of years experience these women have doing the type of match that they did, go, at least their heart's in the right place. They're trying stuff out. You can't fault me for thinking this. This is the kind of thing that you'd see on the indies regularly, in the US indies all the time. So, it's not great what they're doing, but they're still in their infancy when it comes to professional wrestling, and they're like, they want this to work so bad. They want to get in the mix so bad that they're just ready to try all sorts of stuff to make it happen. Now, if I'm a trainer there, if I'm Michael Hickenbottom, I'm telling them, ladies, you might want to consider doing things that you're able to land, as opposed to this, as opposed to, slowing things down, moves looking clunky, ruining the flow of the match because someone forgot their spot here and you did a kip up and now we have to sort of reset the script because we're off script and we don't know what to do because we don't have the experience to do it, right? You got to learn on the job in this wacky pro wrestling thing. So, I don't think this was a great match, because especially what followed after. Because again, everyone focused on the Ospreay Ricochet homage. And honestly, these women could be watching so much worse than Will Ospreay and Ricochet. If they're sitting down at the PC and they're pulling out, DVDs of Best of Super Juniors, for God's sakes, they could be doing a lot worse. If you ask me, it's not it's not this tremendous pile of shit and negative that a lot of people are making it out to be. But even outside of the routine, the rest of the match wasn't very good. But they're trying stuff out, creative stuff, the flippy, 450 lariat. I'm like, okay, I feel someone's going to get really hurt really bad by that one day, but sure, go ahead. Like, it's not, I think the discourse around this is completely missing the point, per usual. And people who are burying this 9 feet under are being too severe. They're being way too rough. These are the same people who were going to turn around and give like 4 stars to, Roxanne Perez in one of her Weapons Wild matches a few months ago, which were trash. Bad matches from a wrestler who has much more experience than Jordan and Ruca. I'm bothered when I think about this match. This is what bothers me, is it's the extremes. Again, like, I think the people calling this the worst thing they've ever seen are completely off base. Just like I think the people calling it great are off base. I have this thing, and sometimes, I have this thing, trying to say too many things at once, so let's start with the introduction. I have this thing where I try to reserve calling things great until they are. I feel like we throw the word great around so much that it lost its purpose, it lost its meaning. We don't know what we're talking about anymore when we say something's great, because everything is great all the time. Calling this match great is false. And this is a belief I have in regards to matches and in regards to pro wrestlers. When people tell me Nia Jax is doing the greatest work of her career, I'm like, holy shit, pull up some matches for me. Then no one is able to do it. No one is able to pull up any matches. When I'm in the Pro Wrestling Illustrated committees for the committee for the women's list for the 250, I sometimes have to argue. It's like, why say people are great when they haven't hit it yet? And why should we try to force this or advance this or create a narrative around their great, when the moment they do great things, it will come naturally and will be much more meaningful? Everything has to be great. And if everything is great, then nothing is great, because everything is on the same level. And then when you say to someone, oh yeah, what they did was absolutely great, it's just like another, all right, fantastic, when it should be meaningful. It's like when people get upset when Dave Meltzer gives a match 4 stars and they're screaming at how great it is. It should have been a 5-star match. A 4-star match is a great match, you absolute nimrods. A 5-star match is an all-time classic. It's a match of the year. It's something that should be embedded in your memory for years to come. There's nothing wrong with the 4-star match. There's nothing wrong with the 3.5-star match. But no, everything has to be great. And if it's not great, then you're a hater, you're wrong. And this is what happens when you talk to children and people who are insecure. They can't have conversations about this stuff because it has to be great. I can sit here and tell you all that, oh, this is good, this is pretty good, this was very good. You know how many times I'm like, this is very, very, very good. And I come short of telling you great because I didn't think it was a great match, but you can have a really, really good, fantastic match without it being great. If it's not great, it sucks. The person who said it's not, who didn't say it was great, is a hater. And then everything explodes, then everything comes apart. Then there's no more room for criticism. But if everything is great all the time, it stops being impactful. And it's not helping the talent improve or get the show better if everything is great all the time. Because if everything is great, they keep doing the same thing, then they're going to keep doing the same things over and over and over, and things will get stagnant, and people will fall off. The shows will drop in quality. That's all there is to it. I mean, I saw it today. Again, people sharing me stuff on Twitter where, look, Brian Alvarez reviewed the match, said he didn't think it was a wrestling match. I respectfully disagree, but I understand what he means when he says that. When he says it's a choreographed routine, I understand what he means. I don't think it's as bad as he makes it out to be, but I understand what he means. What did this do? It created the brigade to come after him and Dave Meltzer by interim, right? Saying, oh, you can't possibly believe this. Why can't? This is the kind of criticism that fosters toxicity within the wrestling, the online community, where it's like, Christ, I think it's a very valid criticism. He didn't shit on them, didn't tell them they stunk. He said he didn't think it was a match. You even got Ryan Satin coming out of the mothballs on this one, putting up a shield as well, saying a little common courtesy, common courtesy. He just said he didn't think it was a match. He feels like it was closer to a choreography, a dance, a routine than a match. And I understand what he means. I don't agree, but I understand. And I think it's a fine criticism. But these people are acting as if Alvarez tore them a new asshole. Said Sol Ruca doesn't belong in a WWE ring. Jordan should be shipped off. She should be kicked out of the company. She's terrible. He didn't even say anything remotely close to that. And this is coming from the guy, Brian Alvarez, who week after week says nothing but glowing reviews for the weekly NXT show. But he says one thing on a match which the popular opinion is this was great, but it's not great. But because he was a contrarian, because he didn't exactly, because he didn't fall in with the mob comes after him. This goes right, it connects it right into the piece I wrote for Voices of Wrestling, talking about the shrinking space that we have for online wrestling criticism. There was nothing savage in what he said. People got into their feelings. They're insecure about the product they're watching to the point that they have to stick up for this company, this billion-dollar company, which I have never understood. But they have to stick up. They feel like they have to put up shields to protect this company because they're so insecure about watching it. Because they know deep down inside, NXT ain't great. It's not that fantastic. Which is wild because WWE for the past, we're getting on to 18 months, 2 years at this point, is hotter than it's been in years. Monster ratings, monster gates, attendance is every conceivable public-facing metric is up. And yet these people are still insecure about one guy saying, I'm not sure this was a match. Bullshit. These are the same people then who say, who on one hand will say, Meltzer star ratings are nonsense, they're not worth anything, no one should pay any heed to them. But then when Meltzer rates something they don't like, they're going to come after him. Insecurity. That's all it is. Insecurity, immaturity. When I say children, a lot of these people are not children. Ryan Satin is not a child. He's a grown-ass adult who somehow felt like who somehow felt that feelings got hurt here or whatever, and felt he had to say something on a critique, which I thought was fair, it's fine. Negative, absolutely, but not a scorched earth type of situation. And these are the same people who then turn around and say, this is great. And these are the same people. The Venn diagram, let's put it this way. The Venn diagram of people who suddenly think this match was great and who hated the Ospreay Ricochet clip that's been circulating on Twitter since 2016 is they connect. You'll see a lot of overlap. Suddenly, everyone is, oh wow, isn't this great? They gave an homage to Ricochet and Will Ospreay. They recreated their most famous sequence, right? A sequence that most of these WWE fans shit on. A sequence that people called disparagingly flippy-do shit. This was like the cornerstone. This was the example. I can't stand people doing shit like this. Shows up on NXT. Oh, fantastic. Let's applaud it. And yet, it is the very definition of flippy-do shit. Of just throwing yourself off the ropes, doing stuff for the sake of doing stuff. Again, I don't have a problem with it, but that's what it was. And yet these people are now giving it a standing ovation and protecting it at all costs. And for years, we're shitting on this same type of wrestling, which goes to prove, once again, what I've been saying for a while now, is that WWE fans just want more WWE. You do a sequence that was done in New Japan almost 10 years ago, 8 years ago at this point, that has been poo-pooed on by WWE fans since, and you put it in WWE and now they'll applaud it. That's all there is to it. WWE fans, they just want more WWE. That's all. They don't want pro wrestling. They don't want... If there's going to be diversity in pro wrestling, it's going to be in WWE. If it happens anywhere else, it's to be mocked. It's to not even be considered. It's to be discarded. It's garbage. It's trash. And when they this is the company, right? These are the same fans who say, I need stories. I need stories to get me into these. Boy, we need the monologues, the mid-ring monologues, the mid-match monologues in the ring and so on and so forth. And the stuff that personally I couldn't stand with the bloodline stuff. And they'd tell me, no, absolutely not, Warren, you're absolutely wrong. This is terrible, so on and so forth. But the minute that they get something that even sniffs like that just even smells like pro wrestling, something that goes out that goes beyond slapping on a headlock, and the minute they get something where it's like, oh, this is exciting, is this PWG? Then they get up in arms and they get excited and say, look how great this is. Despite them having their main criticism of other companies, and I'm not just talking about AEW, other companies saying, it's just wrestling flippy-do shit and there's no stories. And they get the flippy-do shit without a story, without a cohesive in-ring story. And they're losing their minds. They're tearing their shirts at how great they thought it was. So no, if you were to come and tell me, Warren, what makes this match not great? Well, I told you. It's slow, it's clunky, there's no crispness to it. You look at what it doesn't It doesn't matter that they're redoing Ospreay Ricochet move for move. They're not doing it as well. It does come across as a pale copy. It's kind of like going to see, you know, a cover band, an Aerosmith cover band. I don't know why you'd go watch an Aerosmith cover band, right? But you'd go watch an Aerosmith cover band and you're like, man, the lead singer, his voice is off, he doesn't have it, and the guitar stinks. You know what I mean? They're a cover band, they're doing the Aerosmith songs, but they're just not doing it as good. Right? Because that's the issue. And then there's a whole match. There's a whole match that also follows the Ospreay Ricochet thing. So when people come after Dave, for instance, so I think gave like 4.5 stars to the match back in 2016. They're like, well, you gave 4.5 stars to that match. Why not this one? Well, because there's a whole fucking match that followed, and the rest of the match is excellent as well. We always focus on the opening to the match, but there's a whole match. There's a whole match that these guys did, which was tremendous. It's not just about the opener. The opener is the discussion. It's the clip, but all these people only watch the clips. That's all they want is the clips. And then they do whataboutisms. And I don't give a shit about your whataboutisms. What about AEW? Well, do you see this shit all the time? I'll tell you what. If Ray Phoenix and Dante Martin were to redo Ricochet Ospreay, they'd do it better than Sol Ruca and Kelani Jordan did. Absolutely, without question. If in CMLL, Mascara Dorada and Atlantis Jr. did it, it would be better as well. And I'd probably be raving about it as opposed to trying to be fair and just and balanced. I'd probably be sitting here, goddamn, we got ourselves a great match. Hiromu and Francesco Akira in New Japan. Same. They do it and it would be better than what we saw. So what's the connective tissue here? What is the thing that makes that in this whataboutism doesn't make sense? I'm comparing two green as grass rookies to some high class, world class professional wrestlers who have been doing this for a while and who are great, crisp, precise, and excellent at what they do. And I've watched both. And these people that are putting up the defense and are whataboutism about about this match, they never watched the full Will Ospreay Ricochet match. I would even go as far as to say they didn't even watch the full Heatwave match, that they just watched the clips on Twitter. Because that's what we do. That's what we do on Twitter. We don't watch matches anymore. We watch clips. And that's how we decide whether something is good or not. Get mad at people for giving the original match 4+ stars, and this one should get 4+ stars. No, that's nonsense. I've watched both, and I can tell you with confidence that one is a truly great match, a singular milestone in professional wrestling, one that has changed the way that people approach light heavyweight matches from that point on, whether you like it or not. And the other match is not. It's an exhibition by two green wrestlers, and that's also fine. Because you know what? Here's the ultimate whataboutism. If you hated Ospreay and Ricochet, you should hate this match. You should hate Sol Ruca versus Kelani Jordan. You should. Be consistent.